I'd like to tell you that today's recipe is an old family recipe passed down from generations to generations, but it's not. I found it yesterday, and honestly, it was one of the best things I've had in so long I can't even tell you. So I have to share it today, so I'm very excited. I am making later today some Brunswick Stew, and it calls for barbecue sauce in the recipe. I have 1 jar of home canned barbecue sauce left from last year, I think. But I'm not terribly crazy about that recipe, so I wanted something better. So I found a recipe online. I'm gonna link this below because it is just killer. I canned up, I had 2 half pints left after what I'm gonna need for the Brunswick Stew. So I canned those up last night. Now I'm gonna make another batch because I want more on the shelf. So welcome to Grow and Preserve. I'm Carter and I'm thrilled you're here today. Let's get started. I'm gonna double this recipe. So I'm gonna get 6 half pints out of this, or 3 pints, and I'm gonna can it. It is not a canning recipe. However, if you look at the barbecue sauce recipes in the bowl book, which is what I did before, which is what I have on my shelf now and didn't want to use, the pH balance is just the same. The vinegar is the same. The amount it creates is just the same. In fact, I have less low acid foods in this one. The ball book has a bunch of onions in them, and those are low acid foods, 5 to 5.8. You really need to be below 4.6 for canning. So we're in good shape here. I'm perfectly comfortable with it. Do your own research, but I think it's perfect for canning. All right, we're gonna go through this quickly, and then as I said, I'll link it down below. Now, you don't have to can this if you're gonna make the Brunswick Stew with me later, and I think that this one will be posted first, and then after the Brunswick Stew episode is posted, I will link it up above that side, I think it is. So you can just make it fresh and use it straight in the Brunswick Stew. Okay, so we need 2 15-ounce cans of tomato sauce. And I'm not using my homemade tomato sauce in this. I'm just gonna use, this is, from Costco. Okay, 2 cans of tomato sauce, half a cup of apple cider vinegar, which I do not have out. Let me grab that. All right, 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. I have 2 bottles open for some reason, so we're gonna use up the first one. This is a half cup measure. Okay, there's half a cup. And another half cup. All right, next is honey. So it calls for 1/3 of a cup of honey, which if we doubled the recipe would be 2/3 of a cup of honey. But instead of doubling that, I'm gonna cut back on the honey a little bit personally and use some stevia in its place. But if you were doubling this recipe, you would use 2/3 cup of honey. Oh, I love honey. Now, as I said, I'm going to put a little bit of stevia in there, which is perfectly fine for canning. Has been tested and everything. Everybody approves of it. Then we're going to use half a cup of molasses. Sticky stuff on my spoon here. going to be my new go-to barbecue sauce. We had it last night on the pulled pork that I made in order to make the Brunswick Stew today. Gosh, it was so good. All right, half a cup of tomato paste. So that's about 4 ounces of this 6-ounce container. Okay. Worcestershire sauce. 3 tablespoons, so we'll make it 6. Three, 4, 5, 6. This is a water bath canning recipe. So I have my half-pint jars heating up in my water bath canner behind me because this will be hot when it goes into the jars. Now let's do liquid smoke, 2 teaspoons. So double that will be 4 teaspoons. So that's a tablespoon and then a teaspoon. Garlic powder. Calls for 2 teaspoons. Yep, 2 teaspoons for a double batch. And onion powder. 2 for a double batch is 1 teaspoon. Pepper. Again, will be 1 teaspoon for a double batch. And the same thing for salt. Last ingredient is smoked paprika, and in the double batch we're going to use 2 teaspoons. That's it. Go warm it up, let it thicken up a little bit. So get it stirred up and I'll show it to you. Okay, if you can see that, I'll bring you over to the stove. Okay, let me show you this. It's already very thick. I'm just going to let it heat through, bubble for a couple of minutes, and then we will get it canned up. Take a little taste. Oh, they're so good. All right, 10 minutes on the stove is all it took. Let's get these jars filled. We're going to fill them to 1/2 inch headspace. And then according to the bowl recipe, we're going to water bath them for 20 minutes. Beautiful beautiful deep rich color. So my jars are hot, sauce is hot, my water bath canner is hot. So we shouldn't have any issues with the jars. So along with what I canned last night, I'm going to have 8 total 1/2 pints on the shelf. This is just so good. I can't even tell you. I don't even want my last one from last year. But I'll use it eventually. Pretty close. Okay. I have just a smidge left. I'm just going to throw that in the Brunswick Stew this afternoon. Taste just a tiny little bit again. Oh, gosh, it's so good. I'm going to debubble these using a metal knife. You should use a plastic something if you have it, but I don't have one handy right now. So I'm just going to be very careful not to hit the rim, not to crack any glass. All right, we'll wipe the rims with some vinegar. All that honey and molasses in there. Don't want anything sticky on the lid, preventing a seal. I have just a tiny bit left in the pot. Let's see if I can save that for the Brunswick Stew this afternoon, or if I just end up eating it. Which is, I think I'm gonna bet on the fact that I'm gonna end up eating it instead. Okay, those are perfect. All right, we put it on fingertip tight, just until it catches, and then one little smidge more. All right, beautiful. All right, I'm gonna get these in the canner, and I'll bring you back when we're done. All right, the barbecue sauce is done. Let's take it out. So it's 20 minutes in a water bath canner. I have 6 half pints. And it's gorgeous. So we're gonna let these sit undisturbed for 24 hours. And then tomorrow, I will wipe off the jars, unscrew the lids, and label them. And then we'll get them on the shelf. So as I mentioned, I found this recipe because I was looking for a barbecue sauce recipe to use in my Brunswick Stew that's coming up next. I'm gonna make that right now. I think that the barbecue sauce will post before that. And once the Brunswick Stew is up, I'll post it in the cards and give you a link over to it. It is so good. It's a recipe that I have been making, my goodness, 40 years now, I suppose. True Southern Georgia recipe. None of that, lima bean stuff from Virginia. And no okra. I don't do okra either. Perfect recipe, and it's great for canning. So I'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.